Lead by inspiring, lead by experience, lead by example, lead by. The Leadership Podcast brought to you by ezeni. My name is Matt Stancombe and I'm your host, bringing you thought-provoking, inspirational chat every month. Hear from leaders, business owners, coaches and subject matter experts from across a variety of industries. So however you consume your podcasts, turn up the volume, relax, and above all, enjoy this month's guest. Hello, great to be back. We hope you all enjoyed a great end to 2024. This episode was recorded last summer, but we've been waiting to release it following some fantastic news. Our guest has since been promoted, so it seemed only fitting to share her story of success. I spent time with Darcy Lingley, now Premium Experience Director at Formula E, talking about her fast-growing career and the formula behind her success. We recorded at the Excel in London in the build-up to Season 10's finale, so you will hear the odd bit of construction and work in the background. But with so much life, hard work and team spirit present during my visit, it was hard not to get caught into the excitement for the weekend races. So join me in the Emotion Club where Darcy and I enjoyed some of the premium experience that her team worked so hard to deliver. Well, welcome back to another Lead By episode with me, Matt. Today, I'm lucky enough to be joined by Darcy Lingley, who works for Formula E. And today, we're sat in this wonderful venue at the Excel with some lovely sofas as well. So welcome. Thank you for joining me and for having me.
Thank you. Yeah, no, welcome to the Excel, to London. Yeah,
it's great to be here. And I feel very honoured to be amongst royalty and all of the contractors working on this massive event. Obviously, it's a significant weekend for Formula E.
Yeah.
So talk to me about what you do for the organisation and what's happening for those that are not following Formula E.
Yeah, so I am a Senior Premium Experience Manager at Formula E. I've been with the championship for almost 10 years now, so since inception. Mm-hmm. I work in VIP hospitality guest experience, so where we are at the moment, our Emotion Club. So all on-track and off-track guest experiences. So yeah, VIPs, celebrities, our teams are sponsors for the championship and selling to the general public. So yeah.
Very, very exciting. And for those listening or watching, there's a lot of buzz and activity going on at the moment. As contractors, as I mentioned, working on the event space because it's a really important weekend.
Yeah.
For you have a team of people that support you to make all this come to life. And that's really why we're sat here talking to one another is in the spirit of the Lead By topics, we want to talk about your journey into management and leadership and ultimately how that influences the people who work for you and contribute towards all of this wonderful stuff.
Yeah,
so talk to me about the beginning of your career and really how you've come about to be in this position.
Yeah. So I'm from Northamptonshire. So typically in Northampton, when you start working, you're either going to Silverstone, Northampton Saints, or the Cobblers Football Club.
Yeah.
So lots of sport and entertainment in Northamptonshire. And I, by chance, ended up at Silverstone. The HR manager was a local in my pub and offered me a job one summer. And that was just kind of what kickstarted it. So Silverstone's just on the doorstep. And I was there for about 3 years with freelance contracts, 0 hours into my first full-time job. Mm-hmm. And I was just fortunate that one of my clients at Silverstone became a contractor to Formula E pre-season. And they were looking for a catering coordinator, which was my bag at the time. Mm-hmm. And they put me forward for it. I was young, energetic. I was 20. So I was, ready to travel the world. Silverstone had been a great foundation of, like the excitement of motorsport, the home of British motor racing.
Yeah.
But to come on the journey and, get excited, especially having someone I knew already really sort of backing it. So I joined Formula E as a catering coordinator in season 1. Within my first week, I traveled to Malaysia.
Wow.
And that was a very overwhelming experience. The 4 p.m. Rain showers, monsoon style, every single day is not a force to be reckoned with. But traveled through season 1 in catering. And actually, I was the catering coordinator manager of this hospitality.
Right. Okay.
Funnily enough. So that was, I was the person to basically make sure our local caterers were working well, bringing a sense of quality and consistency. And at the end of that season, we realized we didn't really need that role anymore. That was our first year, come together, figure it out. There's no plan. We're going to make a plan. We'll make it work. And so I started joining the broader hospitality team. Jumped into learning all about walling, branding, furniture, obvious things, but things I just didn't know. How many TVs you need in a hospitality, all these sort of basic fundamentals. So I started learning about that. And my manager at the time went on maternity leave. And Formulary, thankfully, gave me the opportunity to really step up and kind of take leadership of the hospitality products, together with some of the colleagues at the time. So I kept my catering stuff, but I also started delivering emotion clubs, and learning the guest experience, and just kind of tackled through that. Was very fortunate to be recognised and promoted, supported through Formulary. And in my more recent seasons at Formulary have spent some time moving across the business. So I'd spent 8 years or 7 years in hospitality and kind of thought, I've got as far as I can get, which is normal in a championship when you stay in the same company. And so, again, very fortunately, Formulary has always been a very supportive working environment for me, amazing opportunities. So I had the chance to move into our host cities team, which was learning all about promoter relationships, the political and commercial relationship with the host cities that we race in. So whether that is the borough, the city itself, the municipality, but really it was a central project management function. So I got to be exposed to broadcast, communications, all these parts of the business that I knew, but actually had no idea what they were doing. So I was in my hospitality bubble for a long time, and that was an amazing year, delivering opening ceremonies with, drone shows, which was my creative side that I loved, through to delivering the Seoul Ep5, which was our sort of inaugural South Korean event a couple of years ago. And being in that core team, seeing a project from start to finish is phenomenal, the scale. But I miss the connection to our fans, our customers, the creative. So I moved into fan experience at Formulary, and really rebuffed the myth I think I'd built myself of hospitality and fan are so different. They're really not. The same foundation skills are needed. And I got to come back into leadership and managing people. Part of my reason for moving out of hospitality in that moment was also a break of managing people and getting back to learning about me and, me being managed. I kind of felt like I'd just needed a different year, a different moment challenge. But I actually realized I really missed that. And I, for whatever reason, enjoy managing people, and found that back in fan experience. And
I guess the link there, listening to you passionately talk about your early career, is your love of people. So whatever it is, whether it's hospitality, the connection to fans and supporters, and the people that work for you, it's your love of people, right? And
I'm totally invested in Formulary in all facets, in all ways. And I think this venue in particular, with the South Halls, this partial indoor-outdoor racetrack, being connected to this live sport environment, you're not just seeing, a turn or a part of a straight and then watching it on a screen. You're seeing a light show. You've got this suspense music behind everything. You're looking into the team garages. You can also see VIPs. You've got fans next to you. You've got people in. There's just such a energy about, especially this venue in particular. When Formulary started, it was almost ahead of its time. It was before the commitments for 2030, 2050, all of these things. And, we're very fortunate. We've got some passionate visionaries, in the leadership team at Formulary, from that time and new as well. And that's the piece that you see. It's how much we've achieved in such a short period of time and where we're going, the generations of cars that we go through. And even when we walked in, we show our Gen 1, Gen 2, Gen 3 car, and recently launched the Gen 3 Evo, which is our sort of 3.5 mark. But it's it's really tangible. You can see what we're achieving, and it is that test bed for the innovation of the technology, and sort of linking that through to the electrification on the road, which is obviously why for manufacturers it's such a great proposition.
And it's well known that in the world of motorsport, a lot of innovation happens in the manufacturer's Formula Series or rally and things like that, and that tech gets cascaded. So you can see how this will influence the future products.
Absolutely.
Hearing you again talk so passionately for that duration there about the leadership vision and how it's cascaded, it's clearly ingrained in you. Yeah. What is it about them that gives you that I guess that inspiration?
I think through Formula E's eras, we've had different approaches to our leadership and what we're trying to achieve. And I think, that sort of first startup phase was so different. It was just about breaking into the market and proving we could do it. And there were so many sponsors that came in and believed in Formula E then, drivers that came in and believed in it. But what they believed in was our leader, was Alejandro, was Alberto, these figures in Formula E that have been here since the beginning, and that's founder, co-founder. They believed in them, and you see this if you ever watch either of them speak and talk about their passion. That's probably what transcends to me. It's not just the love of the sport and what's been achieved, but it's really, they take you on the journey. They're captivating. They're fantastic storytellers, but they live this. They come from motorsport. They understand the sport. They understand the players in it, the investment piece, the city, and part of Formula E's strategy, particularly starting out, was about bringing the racing to the fans, being in the city streets, because combustion just can't be there. And all of that is the belief in the people around you. And I think, we're very fortunate with Jeff coming into the business as well more recently. He brings the same energy to Formula E, but it's also looking at the future. And I think the two, working in harmony, but it's also all the people in between, it's all the leaders from differing backgrounds. It's the female leaders. It's the people from motorsports. It's the people from completely different backgrounds, whether it's sport or other. And I think it's just bringing that to the table. And Formula E is a motorsport championship, but it's an entertainment brand, an entertainment product. We are doing multiple things. We are accelerating the electrification market, or the development of human progress. There's so many things about us racing and reason. What we're achieving,
us, isn't it? Yeah.
So, but it's really tackling all of those things. But it's just working with people with the passion, like you say, that's the one word I think my team would use to describe me, is passionate.
It's clear. It's absolutely 100% clear, loud and clear. And I think you couldn't enter this space without having passion for an element of what the organization is doing. It just so happens, as I said earlier, that so many things seem to line up for you. It clearly is a passion come profession now, which I guess if we talk about the people that work for you, your team, those messages are coming down from the top, from your founders. They're now ingrained in you. It's loud and clear. Is the same to be said for your team? Do they hear those same values and missions coming through from you?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting when you're hiring new talent into the business. And we have always gone through this sort of transition of the people that set it up, and the people that can carry it through these next phases of the journey. I'm very fortunate. The team in hospitality, I mean, I'm biased obviously, but they're all fantastic, and the same across the business. But I think hiring into an organization like this is a challenge. All those typical things of this sort of hard-working environment are always there. It's high pressure, fast paced, flexible, but equally it's a lifestyle. But in equal parts, it's the people that make it. Every person that, has come through formulary, whether that is as a full-time member of staff, a supplier, contractor, people talk about the people. That's what people miss the most. That's why people stay so long. But it's also, you're traveling together. So that already brings people together. You're seeing each other at your best, your worst, your most high stress, life also happening.
Yes.
When you're on the furthest point of the planet. But I'm very fortunate that I see in them the passion that I hope they see in me, and I think it's the best way to engage a team is if they truly believe in it. But the fortunate thing with being in hospitality is that you are exposed to the change makers, the decision makers, these leaders. And if you take a moment to almost be in the presence of people talking about things, whether it's our Gen 3 Evo launch in Monaco, listen to what they're saying, not that you're just running the event. I mean, like I say, I believe in it, but you hear these anecdotal stories, you hear how these relationships were built and why these things happen. And if anything, it's just interesting. This is all being done for the first time, not all components of it, but, the sort of strategy of the championship is in all facets together new still.
Yeah. How many do you have working for you?
6.
6 people. Okay. How do you get them to be invested and stay invested?
Yeah. I think it's in part taking them on the journey of how we've achieved what we've achieved, and the impact and probably the role I played in that, but also trying to do it in a way of where they can see where they can make the difference. Because nobody likes to hear all the war stories of a time when they weren't here. They just don't. But equally, I think being able to help give an insight into those moments as opportunities, and that is what directly linked for me the opportunities to get me to where I am, so they can see it. But like I say, they're a very passionate team anyway. They're all very, very capable people. They happen to all get on like a house on fire, which I think is just the magic of, when you find somebody that has got the work ethic, is bringing something to the table, whether they've got the right previous experience or not. Formally is quite a diverse and adaptable culture. If you've got the right mentality and vision to jump straight in, I think you'll always be successful. And it was something I spoke to my my leader about when I rejoined the team. But what I had said to him when I was thinking about rejoining was, I really want a team of people that want to have that drink together at the end of the day, want to meet each other for breakfast, message each other to ask if you want a coffee, how are you doing? And it always feels like a lot to ask because we're not creating a family here. But what we've created is a family, and it's makes all the difference when you are asking people to travel. These are antisocial hours, as always, in hospitality and events. It is a lifestyle, but with all of that, with all the, the glamour of international travel and the novelty that wears off very quickly with that, what you want people to be able to actually tangibly do is progress and develop their careers. And that's where it's so easy that all of that other stuff is great. But if they don't see that they can develop, most people will start looking at, where can I start getting there? Because all of this is great, but I don't come to work to build a family. I have my family and my friends at home, So it's, people get very taken in by that, including me. This creative of event professionals together. But it's trying to marry that with the, how can we help you develop your career? How can you use formulary to develop those skills, challenge yourself, and really believe in what we're doing so that you take that into whatever project you want to do next. Unfortunately, because I've achieved a lot of those things, I can try and help figure out how we do that for each individual.
Yeah. It's interesting because you talk about that, you've inadvertently created a family, and on a previous episode I mentioned about that term. I come across an article not long ago talking about how family can create fear in an organization, because
Yeah.
it can put pressure on people feeling like they have to go above and beyond to do certain things within their role that perhaps they wouldn't normally do. Do you ever experience that where, you know, your direct reports are saying, actually, I don't know if I really want to do that, or I don't feel comfortable with that?
Yeah. No, and I think that's really important, because it is, you know, we talk about this formulary family. It's always been talked about. It's a throwaway comment. It's, you know, it's why people are here. And yes, I think more so because they've got each other's back so much, because they want to support each other. They do, you know, we all do. I was talking earlier to the team. I was like, what are we all doing 7 a.m. till 8 p.m. both Saturday and Sunday, and a gala dinner afterwards? And I'm like, of course, you know, my sort of methodical side of my brain is like, this is just not logical. You know, this is not good for anyone. We need to do shifts. And there are teams in the business that are, you know, absolutely firm with doing shifts. But I know this team, they want to do it because they want to come in together. They can't be, they're not lone workers. You know, they're all very, very, they're all self-starters. They all proactively work on their own and can, you know, deliver. But where all of them thrive is when there is a team. And that's what drives that. It's the, you know, no one left behind. Whether that's rolling out AstroTurf at 3 o'clock in the morning in one race, or a 7 a.m. start when we don't open until 11.
This is the glamorous stuff.
It's just, but they love it, you know, and we love it. And that's, so I think sometimes, you know, there are moments when you just need to read the room and see, is more sleep and isolation what they need now? Or is, I mean, and they're all adults, letting them take the decision on if they all want to come in at 7, we are all coming in at 7. But actually, is it 7 and we're going to Costa for a coffee? Or taking more time to sit, catch up, walk around the venue without being anxious. You know, that pre-open hour is always filled with, you know, something going wrong, someone's lost something, blah, blah, blah. But I do think, recognized consciously or not, there is a sense of this must be done. There's no other way out. You know, I think we sometimes put so much pressure on ourselves and forget, you know, this is the most important thing to us in our careers. And we have a lot of pressure to deliver because we want to be the best. We want to be a top tier sport. We want to, you know, wow our fans and engage our customers and, you know, like give a thrilling broadcast product. But we're an entertainment brand, you know, and I think it's just being able to sometimes take that step back. And I took a few decisions this season, for example, of changing up people not traveling to races. That's the other one that typically, especially the first couple of years, to hear you're not going to a race, the FOMO, you know, the scaries of race day morning, and you're sat at home with a cuppa waiting for the telly to come on.
Yes.
And you're not going to see anything until race time. Seeing the WhatsApp groups, you know, and just missing that connection piece.
So how do you deal with that though? So if there's someone, I'll use the term sat on the bench.
Yes.
They're watching all the glory. How do you keep them invested at distance?
It's hard because as soon as you come on site, you are in the whirlwind of the venue, you know, and it's hard enough to be in contact with your own friends and family. And I'm sure my family would say this, that as soon as I leave the country, or maybe even when I'm in the country, but as soon as I'm on site, I'm just uncontactable. They don't know where I am, what I'm doing. I think a lot of that is about talking through why, you know, like things like the 7 a.m. start at the weekend, I can kind of read it, and I'll see tomorrow how much I want to push that. But I read after the Berlin race, a couple of the team didn't come, and that was a bit challenging for them, but it was all with a view to expose newer members of the team to upskill them. Because as we gear for our hardest, you know, biggest, newest calendar that we will have in season 11, I wanted to have all of the uncomfortable stuff happen this season, you know, people to not work the event they wanted to, not travel as much as they wanted to, have to share the hospitalities because we all become very attached to the products we deliver. And I know I've definitely felt that with the Emotion Club before, trying to get everyone to upskill each other so that when it comes to our restructure we're doing for next season, that's all of that awkwardness has been eked out, trying to explain how to do your job to somebody else when you've never had to explain it.
Yeah.
But I think, a lot of it is the constant engagement. It's remembering to reach out. It's picking up the phone. It's validating what they're doing, whether they're off and letting them be off.
Yeah.
Or if they're not and they're in administration planning mode, that validating the reason they're there is because their purpose is more important to what they're working on. And that's what we're really trying to drive for our next season coming in, is the work-life balance, not traveling to every event. And I think a lot of that is just being upfront, it's just this is the structure, this is the strategy, and this is why, but this is how you will benefit. And trying to engage them to be part of the decision making. The amount of times we've tweaked the structure and the ideas for next season as we've gone on through the year, and every time I'm asking them, like, what do you think? Should it be 4 or 3? Should it be, managers versus coordinators? How many races do you think is too many races to lead next year? And all of them were like, I don't want 3, I want 4. Okay. But, that really helps influence the decision making. That's where I get the buy-in, is that they know I not just take into consideration what they think, but actively ask them and need their guidance on achieving the outcome. Because at the end of the day, you can put the best strategy in place, but if the people that need to deliver on it don't understand it, don't agree with it, don't buy into it, it's just never going to be successful. And there are so many amazing, proven, opportunities of that across the business where that has successfully been implemented by having the buy-in.
But everything you've just said is really the essence of any change management culture, actually. So getting the advocacy from your team and your people and understanding why they're doing something is absolutely critical. So again, it sounds very clear the ingredients are there because people are invested, they want to do it. I was lucky to meet a couple of your team members actually, wasn't I? And then it seems that they're enjoying it as much as you. And this is obviously, as I said earlier, a really important weekend. So I can see it's cascaded well through the team. But let's just get into a bit more detail again about your personal leadership journey, which ultimately influences the people that work for you. Have you had any regrets stepping back into a leadership role? Is there anything that you feel like you wish you would have done differently or learning points?
I absolutely don't regret coming back into a leadership role now. As I sort of mentioned before, when I was in the host cities role, I needed that time. I needed a recalibration of, how did I know how to lead? And I sort of had a bit of a moment, and this was all around COVID anyway, but a bit of a moment around, I need to revalidate my knowledge and capabilities, and just had a bit of a wobble in, how am I this leader? And it just sort of second guessed myself. Moved past that after rejoining and actually getting that validation again that I enjoy. And I know that I seek a huge amount of my job satisfaction through a high performing team, people who love their jobs, people who get on well with other people across the business. When your phone rings, that you don't go, you actually want to pick up the phone, and you've always got energy, but you really care for the people. Looking back though, I have to say, from having that time where I did challenge what I wanted and what I was looking for, because managing people is heavy. I think a lot of the time when you become a line manager, it's a great stepping stone for people, and it's always the alternative to learning and development or pay rises, promotion, but it usually comes with that. People actively seek it. All the people I've managed actively, I don't think anyone I've ever managed hasn't actively, sought to become a line manager. And I don't think I appreciated, when I formally became a line manager, the responsibility I was taking on for that person's career. And whilst you're not fully responsible for them, you've got a part to play. You owe them the best chance of going into fight for them for that pay rise. being candid if it's not coming, knowing how to toe the company line, but sometimes give a little bit more than maybe you should to try them keep that passion, keep that understanding and engagement, helping them find what it is they're trying to achieve, helping them see past the glamour of the travel.
Yeah.
Are they really ready to do this job? Helping them to see love back in that, whatever it is, or helping it to work around changing life, families, other personal circumstances. But I definitely look back and think, whether it was me or whether it was the expectation that I should have just been able to have been a great leader from the get-go. And I definitely thought I was, I think, at the time. But I know that where I'm better now is about managing my emotions and realizing how my emotional position, and I'm quite an emotional person. All my expressions are all over my face. If something annoys me, you'll know it straight away. But I've learned to see the impact to my team when you're like that.
That's interesting. So sort of more emotional intelligence.
Yeah. And just
impact.
Being conscious of, even if you're not, and it would never be directing to the person, in my case anyway. But people are so different, and I think when you work in a company like this, you attract a lot of strong-willed, assertive, go-getter, power, sort of, not power hungry, powerful people, people that are seeking the opportunity and growth and, this sort of quick fire opportunities. So that typically is, not to use the sort of personality type phrase, but this sort of red dominant, this sort of fiery energy. You attract a lot of that, a lot of analytical energy as well. And, my team though are largely the opposite. They are all people who are more relaxed, more reserved.
You're referencing some energies and color energies, which I know from insights language.
Yes,
is personality profiling.
Yeah.
Is that something you've experienced through your career? Is that something you've done externally to upskill?
Yeah, my previous recent leader, who's just left the business, actually was very passionate about taking us as a team on this course to learn how to better communicate with each other, understand each other's communication styles, personality types. And it was really less about understanding yourself. It was more about trying to understand one another. Yeah. And it was really, really interesting. I'd done a couple of those before, like similar sort of things. It was it's like, reading your diary type thing. It was made you feel quite exposed. But that was a really great tool for people for me as well, to see the types of communication styles they need. And they also saw what I need.
Yes.
And actually, I think it helped validate I can be assertive and clear, impatient sometimes.
What's really powerful about those studies is how you use that energy to create gel and make a team come together.
Absolutely.
And actually identify that not everybody has to be the same.
Yeah.
So it's just a powerful statement on a company's behalf to say we're all unique, we're all individuals, and how do we come together?
Exactly. And I think that was it wasn't a negative thing. This wasn't about being like, I'm impatient. That's such a negative word. It was when we come to have our one-to-ones, I need to appreciate that you need more time to talk. So me making it 30 minutes isn't fair on you. But also what I need from you is conciseness. So get those 2 or 3 top points at the beginning, hit them hard, because my attention can waver. And that was a great one of, we both feel better because we've just validated the fact this is how we are.
Yes.
And that's okay.
Yes.
But I definitely think, with understanding one another is definitely a massive impact to that. And also learning to validate my leaders was something in my early career. I think that sort of young ego sometimes needs a little bit of readjusting, and that I can look back now and go, I probably could have welcomed more learning if I'd not seen them as a stepping stone or as a blockade for me to progress, which I think when you progress quickly in your career is the mentality you develop. And I think where we're fortunate now is we're surrounded at Formulary by great leaders of all levels. And there are lots of fantastic relationships that sort of really transcend these, the typical hierarchy in Formulary. And I think that's the sort of thing that I would say to my team. That's my learnings, is the understanding one another. I'm not the decision maker, therefore not always right, or I might be the decision maker, but I'm not always right. Delegation, thinking you're doing it's the obvious one. You think you do it. If you're a bit of a perfectionist, hard worker, you've welcomed this Formulary family, therefore you work the additional hours and all these things. You ask something to be done, it's not done in a couple of hours, you do it yourself. Yes. That was like one of the worst traits. I look back and think, oh, gosh, but also experience from some of the, I think, sort of less supportive management styles I've worked under. That's when I unraveled the most, but can now look back and go, that's probably where I probably caused similar situations.
I guess what you're going through, like many leaders, is that transition from an operational manager doing the sort of the HR hygiene of a team and managing daily operations through to actually leading, inspiring a team with direction, which then creates that autonomy that you're describing, because you don't have to be the font of all knowledge. You just need to know roughly where you're headed and get the team to follow you.
And that's
so it's just so important that people understand that. So I think from everything you've said, passion, energy, understanding the team, bringing your family together as you describe it, our time is going to have to unfortunately come to an end because you've got so much going on here. It's being built ready for this weekend. It's so, and I can't thank you enough for your time. Before we close, just one thing for our listeners and viewers. What would you describe as the most important thing to consider when making that transition from managing operationally to being a leader? So we've talked about the understanding characteristics and behaviors. Is there anything else that you think is fundamental in that move from operations to leadership?
My sort of big buzzword is always just adaptability. I think that's what's given me the opportunities. It's probably what's helped me bounce back when I've had that sort of reflection on what do I want? What am I learning? Is this, fulfilling me in the way I want it to? Is it the right career move for me? Is it healthy for me?
Yes.
And I think being adaptable, especially in a changing landscape like Formulary, we change so quickly. That's why it's amazing. That's why you make such an impact. But I think it's that same thing from moving from operator to leader or manager, or, especially of people. It's being able to take a moment to reflect that is probably closing a chapter. Fortunately, I get to operate a lot of things still.
And you still have that connection to people and your guests and your customers and all of those supporters.
And it's just letting the team have the space to do it. It's being unafraid to give other people that chance and let it go.
Yes.
And if they're going after it, they're the people you want. If they don't grab it, they're probably not going to be suitable for succession planning, suitable to jump into a new opportunity if there comes one across the business, or be set up for their next move when they potentially choose to move on and go into something else.
Powerful stuff, and wise words. I can't thank you enough. We've got lots going on here, and I need to let you go. So I want to thank you again, and I wish you and the team and the race teams huge success for the end of the season. It's been an absolute privilege to meet with you and be here. So thank you for sharing your wisdom.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Darcy.
Appreciate it.